First off, on behalf of the family, I'd like to thank everybody for coming today. My name is Joe, and I am an alcoholic. And shall we open the celebration of life with a moment of silence to do with As You Wish, followed by the Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And at this time, I'm basically going to turn the room over to Doug Higgins, who has a short video of some past appearances of Al at different functions and an interview, and we thought that everybody would enjoy seeing that. Are you ready to roll, Doug?
Good afternoon. My name is Doug Higgins. It was a sincere pleasure and honor to shoot the following video on August the 2nd of 2012. What you're about to see is a seriously condensed version of the original 1-hour interview. In order to get the rest of the story, feel free to visit soberrun.com.
And was that when you met Jack Holt?
Jack and I was building some houses on McBain Avenue. And Jack Holt come out and wanted to measure up, sell me some cabinets. He had a cabinet shop. He had 22 men working over there. So he come out and wanted to give me a bed. And I was talking to a plumber, and he said, why don't I go down and get a bottle while I'm waiting, and then when we get through with them, we'll have a couple of drinks and talk this over.
Friends for life.
That's right. So we got drunk the first night we met. That weekend, we met our wives, got together. We were solid friends ever since. And then I woke up one morning. I had a hell of a hangover, and I stopped at the Club El Camino to get a shot and a beer chaser. So I was so sick I couldn't stand it. So I went in there, and Ambrose was there, the guy that ran the bar. He knew me, and he knew Bernice and the family, because we go over there a lot of times on weekends. So he says, well, 8 o'clock in the morning, Al, don't you think you might be drinking too damn much? I said, well, maybe so, but I'll go over. I need a drink right now. I don't want to talk about it. Well, he said, ever think about the fact you might be an alcoholic? I said, talk about an insult. I don't need that, right? He said, well, I'll tell you what I'll do. He said, he got a piece of paper out from behind the counter, tore it out of the newspaper, and it was the ad from AA. If you have a drinking problem, call Alcoholics Anonymous. I said, well, then talk about an insult. And I'm hungover anyway. I didn't need that crap.
So you got 12-step by a bartender.
Yeah. And I said, I don't need that anyway. He said, put it in your pocket and I'll give you a beer chaser and a shot on the house. What the hell are you going to do? You get that for nothing. Stick it in your pocket, don't take up any room. So I did that and put it in my pocket. And a year and a half later, I come home on a Sunday morning and been gone all weekend. And my wife was at the door. She never went to bed. She's still up, Met me at the door. Come on in. She said, I'm going to take my kids and go over to Marion's, her sister. And you're going to make up your mind today. There'll be no more drinking in this house after today, or you're gone. And that's final. So what are you going to do?
Can't argue with Bernice.
No. So after they're gone, I went down to the store and wrote a bum check for a quart of whiskey and come back and set it on the table and open it up. You got to figure this damn thing out. What are you going to do? So I sat there and taking a drink and wondering whether I ought to just leave, just take off, But I didn't. I just sat there and drank a little bit more. In the meantime, about noon, here come Holt, the attorney. Said, Jack says, well, your wife sent me out here. Talk to you about your drinking. Holt says, I don't have a drinking problem. I said, yeah, I know you don't. You drink more than I do. Well, I'm bigger than you are, and all that kind of crap. He said, well, Easthouse, you got to quit your drinking. Just cut it down. You don't drink so much. You damn fool. So I'll try it. I'll try it. I'll try it. Anyway, I'd already taken that slip of paper out of my pocket, looked at it. It was laying there on the table, and he looked at that paper, and he said, you know, you don't call those bastards. They don't drink at all. That same old crap. So what are you going to do? In the attorney talked a while. I got up and left. And I studied that and finally made a decision. I'll call him, guys. I'll have Bernice call him so he gets here. As soon as he gets home, she can call him. So she got home with the kids, and she said, well, I suppose you made some great decisions today. Got on the outside of the biggest bottle of booze. There ain't much left of it. So you probably made some very good decisions. What did you decide? I said, well, see this piece of paper here? Said, yeah. Said, well, that's AA. Said, you go over there at the telephone, call them up. Look, you bastard. I ain't got the problem. You got the problem. You go call him yourself. So what the hell do? You got to do call my bluff. So I went and called him.
What do you get? You got to see Bill Wilson get the Lasker Award. Can you tell us about that?
I sobered up in July 22nd, 1951, and in October, it's in the book. It's in the AA book on the back of it. The Lasker Award. Anybody can read it. I was there.
So tell me about, was it a big party?
It was done at the Opera House, and the Opera House holds about, 3,000 people?
Yeah.
And it was full, and he was there invited to receive the Lasker Award, and the Lasker Award was given to the organization or fellowship that did the best for humanitarian purposes the year before, and Alcoholics Anonymous won the award that year. And he did there and told his story, and when we heard that was going to happen, we got a hold of $5 and filled a gas tank up and went in, two couple of us, and parked and went in and heard the story, and when he came down after, shook hands with Bill Wilson on the whole bit. So that when I was sober 90 days. And I thought that God had blessed me and come down and stroked me as genius, you know.
Well, God certainly has blessed you, my dear. Tell me about when Jack finally followed you into this organization.
Well, Jack and I, you know, we were really close. And when I quit 6.5 years before, that really ruined the drinking buddyship. And but that didn't keep from coming over. They'd come over on Christmas, and we'd still go out to dinner. But Jack could stay sober as long as with me, and so he kept getting loaded more and more. And finally, his wife got too much of it, and she went to the motel. And Holt called me up and he said, Easthouse, where the hell's my woman? I said, well, she kicked your butt out. She moved out on you, and she wants you to sober up. Well, he said, by God, I don't have a damn problem. I'm just going to go over there at the house and stay, and maybe when she gets sick and tired of this, she'll come home. Well, about 3 days later, she wasn't sick and tired of it yet. So he calls me up again, trying to get her back. So he promised to quit. He'd come over, and finally we had dinner together out at Spivey's, and he made the old threatened promise that he's going to quit. And 90 days later, I was building some house down to Salinas, and he come down with a load of cabinets. He said, Easthouse, I got this thing figured out. I've been going to all these silly meetings, and all you do is you got to moderate it, and you cut it down, and you just be like normal people do. And we just overlook that. All you got to do is just cut it down. I said, well, old buddy, that's the way you feel about it. Go right over to the pub and start in. My God, I'll do that. So he drove his truck over to the pub, and when I got off work that night, I drove over there, and he was halfway in his bibs then, and we started driving home, and we got up here to a coffee shop near town, going to stop and get a cup of coffee, and he side brushed a woman in a car, and the cops come over, stopped him, interviewed her. They didn't even give him a damn ticket. So he said, see there? Nothing to it. But about 90 days later, why, he'd had it. He'd really done it good, and she'd thrown his ass out again, and so he called up. And I met him down at Tiny's, and Tiny's restaurant was on the corner of Race and Alameda. That's a big restaurant there now. I guess it's a gay bar there now.
I haven't been in a bar lately. I wouldn't know.
So anyway, I met Jack down there, and Jim Raines, who was the second guy to sober up, he decided to sober because he'd been drinking with Jack, so he decided to sober up too, and he was the second sober AA in the county. Wow. So they went to the meeting with us, and the meeting at Prune Ridge had started 3 weeks before that. And so we took Jack and him, and we went over to that meeting and at Prune Ridge, and Jack come back in 1958, and I quit in 51. So it was 6.5 years later.
And he never drank again.
No. And he became a great speaker. Going up and down the coast and all that, you know. I did my fair share, but I couldn't hold a candle to hold. He was the greatest. Anyway, probably one of the greatest speakers we had here. Right. And we had some good ones, but none like that. Did a share of a 12-stepping, and then we became inseparable. Well, you know, that was part of the Oxford group, and they believed that if you would be absolutely follow your truisms, then you would be part of the kingdom of God and all that sort of thing. And you could not go wrong. You could be a perfect specimen. And of course, the four absolutes is which we adopted to follow as best as possible. And one of them is honesty, being as absolutely honest as you can be. So, but we know better that you're not going to be absolutely honest. We're a bunch of lying connivers when we come in here.
So we're trying to be rigorously honest.
Well, you're never going to be a 10.
Right.
See? And I always said, my best day, I'm a 7. And I wonder about that. Then there's honesty, and then there's purity. So you got to adopt yourself a set of pure rules that you live by. the purity that you live by, not she or he or a. Your set of rules are pure. And whatever that is, live by it. Forevermore, live by it.
Whatever fits with your integrity.
And it may be half impure along the line, but it fits you. But anyway, purity is maybe 7, okay. And then selfishness, unselfishness. And when we came in, that's all we ever thought about. Me and myself and I, then the crap pile into you. And you see, we've learned better than that. We've learned at least you got to consider. So you got to live with them, and you got to consider and be not so damn selfish and self-centered. And what's the last one? Do you guys know? Unconditional love. That's it. You have unconditional love for your fellow man. And buddy, you adopt that, and whatever that is, you exercise it and live it to the best of your knowledge. And from then on, if you can do that just a little bit, you're a hell of a guy, you know.